Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Steven Levine. This is Tom Vandervoort. Time to take a look at Michigan, a newly repaved track, just like Pocono last week. It's going to be a fast qualifying, fast race.
It's going to be very fast. This track was known for speed and a wide racing groove. Well, we're definitely going to get more speed. I mean, that much we know.
Will we get a wide racing groove?
I think that's the key. Look, if you look at this racetrack and you look at heading down to turn one at, what, 210, 215? That's fast. Okay, that's very, very fast. This thing is so wide and sweeping that you can drive in there that quickly and still maintain control of your race car. But when you talk about that kind of speed, you're talking about even more of an aerodynamic effect, downforce giving you grip in the corner. If the racing groove is wide, then if I'm trying to pass you, I can at least get away from you a little bit to try to kind of negate that effect. But if the racing groove is not wide, now all of a sudden, I'm stuck behind you, I get a terrible aero push, and I can't get past you. So I think that's the question. Does the racing groove get wider? Are guys able to pass out here on this new asphalt?
Or will we have a clean air parade?
Will we have a clean air parade where strategy becomes a big fat key?
Well, and we have seen strategy win out at this racetrack before.
Absolutely.
We have seen this come down to fuel mileage. That's how Junior got his last
Well, I
win.
think the thing about that is part of the reason is that because the groove is so wide, you can stay away from people, you can avoid contact, and you can have long green flag runs there. So will we see that as well? And fuel miles definitely could come into play.
Now, if you look at drivers, obviously Michigan is renowned as a Ford racetrack, and Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards are both very good here. But the guy who has won the past two spring races at Michigan doesn't drive a Ford.
No.
That's Denny Hamlin. Even last year, which was an off year for Denny, he managed to win the spring race at Michigan. I think one of those other races, one of those fall races, he finished second. So he has found a real strength here. Will that be enough to challenge Kenseth, Biffle, Edwards?
I think so. I mean, it depends a little bit on their engines, doesn't it? I mean, at Joe Gibbs Racing, you just never know these days, right? I hate to say it, but like Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, and I think even Joey Logano, based on what he did at Pocono, could be factors this weekend. This is one of the very few tracks that you don't go in there saying this is a good track for Hendrick Motorsports. Now, could Jimmy and Casey, I mean, it's a good track for Casey Kane.
Yeah, but this is one of only two ovals where Jimmy Johnson has yet to win a race.
Could those guys show up and win? Absolutely. I mean, if Jimmy Johnson won this race, it would not surprise me.
Well, he finished second in the chase race last year.
So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jimmy Johnson were to win this race.
But it's not a Jimmy track, or only because he hasn't won here yet, but I agree with you, he could. So if you're going to pick somebody, do you go with one of those Fords, which is a pretty safe bet, or do you go and take a little bit more of a risk? Mark Martin has 5 victories here.
This is a great track
more
for
than
Mark.
any other active driver.
Yeah.
He was my pick last week.
I
He
think
almost made it, but do you pick him this week?
I think Mark Martin's a great pick. I really do. It's a great track for him based on the new asphalt at Pocono and how he ran there, what the Michael Waltrip Racing engines were able to show. I think he's a very good pick. I think, this has always been a Ford track, and with new asphalt, some of those variables, maybe just fall back to that and say Matt Kenseth.
I think Matt Kenseth's a great pick. He would have been my pick if you hadn't gone first.
I would say Matt Kenseth.
Since you went first and picked Matt Kenseth, I'm going to go with one of those two Toyotas, either Mark Martin or Denny Hamlin. Mark Martin almost pulled it out last week when I did pick him, so he owes me one, and I know he feels that pressure. He feels a little bit of guilt.
Oh, sure.
So I'm going to go with Mark Martin again this weekend and see if maybe he can't pull that victory out.
Sounds good to me.
All right, that's Tom. I'm Steven. Thanks for watching.